Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you all are joining us. Welcome to the University of Illinois Wheelchair Basketball Program's first ever live virtual camp. My name is Coach Steph Wheeler, and I'm the head coach of our women's wheelchair basketball team here. We are so excited that you all are here and that you're all joining us today for this virtual camp experience. This year is going to be a little bit different for us. We can't have you all here on campus in person, which we are going to greatly miss. We're going to miss the interactions. We're going to miss the chance to have great conversations with you all in person about wheelchair basketball. But while we're certainly going to miss that, and while we're going to miss interacting face to face, we're going to do our best to replicate and enhance the in-person camp experience for you. We want to provide the most interactive experience for you that we can. So with that being said, with this being our first virtual camp, we are probably going to experience some technical hiccups. And when we do, be patient, hang in there, and we're going to be working to fix them, just so you know. So just hang in there with us with that. We have some great material to share with you and present to you over the course of this week. I'm going to start out doing some basic one-on-one defense today. Tomorrow, we're going to have Coach Bushy doing some higher level one-on-one offense. And then we'll continue with some 2-on-2 defense and offense as we get into the week. And as we round out the week on Friday, we're going to have an amazing panel with some of our student athletes that have been through our program, who have gone on to do wonderful things both on the court and off the court. And I think that's one you're really going to want to join us for as well. So make sure you mark your calendars for that on Friday. We also have some really great coaching content that we're going to share with you this week. So from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, both myself and Coach Bushy will be on, and we'll be presenting some information for you that will help enhance your coaching as we go into this next season. We also hope that you have some good questions for us. So like I said, we want to keep this as interactive as we can, even though we can't be in the same room. So as I'm presenting material today, and as we go on throughout the week, there's a Q&A section on the webinar. If you have questions, please type those in the Q&A, and we can either answer them as I go along today, presenting my material, or at the end, we're going to allot about 15 to 20 minutes so that we can answer some questions as well. So if you have them, type them in there. We'll be able to see them. We'll either stop and address them, or we'll come back around to them at the end. Okay. So with that, we're going to get started and get going. I'm really excited today to talk to you all about some one-on-one defense. I love defense. Anybody that knows me, anybody that's played for me, knows that defense is my absolute favorite thing to coach and my absolute favorite thing to teach. For me personally, everything grows out of one-on-one defense, even extending all the way to the offensive end of the court. So, I believe you can't play any other type of defense without being a really, really good one-on-one defender first. So this is why we're going to start with teaching you some one-on-one defense. We're going to teach this today in a classroom setting. So if you don't have a ball chair, if you don't have, a way to practice one-on-one defense, that's okay. If you have something to take notes with, you can jot down some notes with this so that when you can get back on a court, or when you do have an opportunity to practice some of this stuff, you can take this information with you as you go. So like I said, being a great one-on-one defender is the start to playing any kind of really good other defense, whether it be 2-on-2 all the way up to 5-on-5 defense and even pressing. The really cool thing about defense is that a lot of it is within your control. And that's why I really love coaching it, because we can control how hard we play. We always tell our student athletes here at Illinois, play hard, play smart, and play together, right? Be smart in your reads, give your best effort. You can always control how much effort you're giving, and then you can always control how great of a teammate you're being. So, giving great effort, being intelligent, being a great teammate. Those are some keys we're going to talk through today when we're talking about playing defense. The other piece that I want you guys to remember about playing really good defense is that a lot of times we don't think of defense as something that's attacking and something that's, dictating what the other team does. And when I teach defense, and we teach defense here with our student athletes, we absolutely teach them that we want to use defense to control the game. We want to be able to attack the other team defensively, and we want to be able to dictate what the other team does. And so again, when you're going into training for any kind of defense, we want to think of it from that mindset. We want to attack and dictate, attack and dictate. Another really important part of one-on-one defense and defense in general is that wheelchair basketball is a game based on who can gain and control space the quickest, right? Like who can control the most space and who can control that space the quickest. Really good one-on-one defense leads to the defender being able to control how much space the offense can gain. So if we as defenders can gain 5 feet of space and gain that 5 feet of space properly before the offense does, that's when we can attack, that's when we can dictate, and that's when we're going to be in control, okay? So that's what we're gonna talk through today when we talk through one-on-one defense. If we keep those principles in mind, as we're going through talking about one-on-one defense at its basic, you guys are gonna come out of this with a little bit more knowledge on how to play great one-on-one defense, okay? So as we move into our PowerPoint, we're gonna use this to guide what we're talking about with our one-on-one defense, and so you can see some of the principles that we talk about. So one of the first principles we always talk about with one-on-one defense, and if we can go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint, one of the things that we always talk about with one-on-one defense first is communicating. Communicating is something that we train all the time. It's something that you can train in any drill that you're doing, is understanding how to communicate. And if we're going to be great defenders, first of all, we have to understand that communication is the foundation to that. We can't play defense on our own island, and we can't play defense without our teammates understanding what it is, not only that we're doing, but what it is that we need them to do, okay? And I think that's a part that we forget sometimes, is that it's really important for our teammates to understand what it is we need for them to do as well. So when we're talking about communicating one-on-one defense, at the very basic, when we teach this, this is our individual skills level camp. When we teach this on an individual skills level, we talk about communicating the name of the person that you're guarding, right? Or the number of the person that you're guarding if you don't know their name. Okay, we're talking about where you are on the court. Okay, we're talking about just where the person that you're guarding is going, right? And it's very, very basic, okay? As we get more advanced in the one-on-one defense, we start talking about some of those more advanced concepts of, you know, needing your teammate to sag. And we'll talk about this actually on Thursday when we go into 2-on-2 defense as to what you need your teammates to do. But one-on-one defense is a great place to practice that. So communication is the foundation for everything defensively. So we're going to start with that. Okay, the next concepts we're going to talk about are kind of the 3 R's of one-on-one defense that we teach at our individual skills camp. And we're going to go in the order of read, retreat, and readjust. Okay. So the first one that we're going to talk about today actually is a read, okay? And when we talk about read today, we're going to talk about it from a perspective of spacing, okay? Reading spacing. We'll talk about another meaning for read here in a little bit, but for right now, we're going to go with spacing. And for us, when we start one-on-one defensive position, okay, we want to talk about zero position. And as you can see here in this graphic that we have, zero position is about 1 chair length of space away from the person you're guarding, okay? And, excuse me, and perpendicular to the person that you're guarding, okay? So as you can see in the graphic, we're not pointing our foot plate at the person we're guarding, okay? The person on defense is in orange. We're not pointing our foot plate at the offensive player that we're guarding, okay? We're guarding with the side of our chair. We're making our chair wide, okay? So 1 chair length away from the offensive player, okay? And we're making our chair wide. So we're forcing the offense in the direction we want them to go, okay? So I think we have a clip here to show you this is just some of what I was just saying, okay? We have a clip here to show you of what that bit of defense looks like at the beginning.
As the offense makes her first move, the defense retreats towards the basket she is defending. Okay. You can retreat by going backwards or by using a quarter turn away from the player you are guarding. Watch the defense use quarter turns. Okay, so you can see zero position.
Okay, we'll talk about what this looks like here in a minute as well. This is a little bit of our retreating part. Okay.
The keys are.
So again, just remember when we're reading, okay, we're starting in the zero position. Okay, there we go. The beginning there. Good. We're always starting in the zero position. We run it back one more time from the beginning. And then go ahead and pause there at the beginning. A little bit more. Right there. always going to zero position. Okay, we can go back to the PowerPoint now. All right, so that's reading, okay? We're gonna start out, we're going to read our space, and we can actually go here with the slide that we were just on, the read slide, yep. Okay, so we talked about our zero position. One thing I didn't mention, but as the offensive player's speed increases, okay, this is where the reading can come in. So if we're faster than the person that we're guarding, we can close that chair length or that 6 inches of space because we're faster than that player, okay? We can guard them in a much smaller amount of space, okay? If the offensive player is faster than us, so if their speed is increasing relative to ours, we want to give ourselves a little more space. So this is, again, where the reading comes in. We have to read the speed of the person we're guarding, and we have to read the space that we have between us and the person that we're guarding, and to see if we need to increase or decrease that space, okay? So that's reading, okay? That's how we begin playing one-on-one defense. Okay, now we're gonna move into retreat. Okay, so with retreating, what we're gonna talk about, some big concepts here with retreating are checking our shoulders and seeing behind, okay? And you'll see this when we show video in a little bit, okay? And then staying in our 45s. So what we'll talk about is not overturning or turning our toes towards the offensive player, okay? So I think this is actually the video clip that we were showing earlier, but we're gonna go back to that clip to look at what retreating
As the offense makes her
looks like. So as you can see here, let's keep it here for a second, okay? As you can see, we've read, okay? The defensive player has read, okay, I'm a little bit faster maybe than this offensive player that I'm guarding. So as you can see, we've closed that space, okay, between the defender and the offensive player because there's a speed advantage there, okay? As we play the video a little bit, you'll see that we use the quarter turn to retreat. So we can go ahead and play the video.
The defense retreats towards the basket she is defending.
We'll quarter turn to
retreat by
retreat
going
away.
backwards or by using a quarter turn away from the player you are guarding. Watch the defense use quarter turns to retreat.
There. So as you can see, we turned away from the offensive player, okay? We did not turn towards the defensive player, all right? That's what I said earlier about going toes to toes, okay? It makes our chair skinny, all right? And it allows the offense an opportunity to beat us with one push, basically. They only have to make one move and one push to beat us. But when we turn away like this, okay, quarter turn away, we have the opportunity then to keep our chair wide, okay, and gain position on the offense with only one push ourselves. We're gonna force the offense to have to push and make one or two moves to beat us. Okay. The other thing that's really important with retreating is that we want to check our shoulders or see behind. You'll hear both types of terminology used, checking our shoulders and seeing behind. This is how we locate where the offensive player is, because for a moment in time, as you can see, we'll have our back turned. The defender is going to have their back turned toward the offensive player. All right. So for a moment, unless you check your shoulders, you won't be able to see where that offensive player is, okay? So it's gonna be really important that you check your shoulders so that you can read, back to that first R, you can read where they're going, okay? So can we show this clip one more time, just so we can understand what retreating looks like?
You can retreat by going backwards or by using a quarter turn away from the player you are guarding. Watch the defense use quarter turns to retreat and readjust.
Okay, so again, that quarter turn and retreat.
Away from the player you are guarding.
I think we'll see it one more time. Quarter turn, got our eyes up, we're checking our shoulders, okay, and we retreat. The other bit of feedback that we would also give during this point is, again, as we're retreating, okay, we want to communicate. We still want to talk about who we have and where we're going, okay? The last bit that we'll talk about with our retreat piece is that we want to stay in our 45s, okay? And that just means we want to stay in axial to Castor position. And we'll see that as we move forward here into our last R concept, which is going to be readjusting. We'll see what staying in our 45s look like. So as we move into wheel position and readjusting, what this means is that we're going to readjust our position after we quarter turn away. Okay, we're going to readjust our position and gain what we call wheel position, or more specifically, axial to castor position, or axial on a castor. And the reason that we call it axial on a castor position, and this screen grab shows it really nicely with the arrow, is that you can see the axle, okay, of the defender's chair, the axle on the rear wheel that's closest to the castor, the front castor on the chair of the offensive player, we have position in that way, okay? And we're even like a little bit ahead of axial to castor position here, okay? But we want to reestablish or readjust our chair, right, to where we're getting axial to castor position. This is what we classically call wheel position. This is what we're always aiming to get defensively, okay? We can go ahead and show the clip of what this looks like with establishing wheel position.
The defender has read where the
So
offense
again,
is going.
after we come out of our quarter
Readjusted her
turn,
chair, establishing wheel
we're going to be able to
stop the
reestablish
offense.
axial to
Generally
castor
speaking,
position.
wheel position means the defense having her rear axle in front of the front caster.
We'll go
of
ahead
the
and run it
offense.
one more time, just so that we can
The
see
defender
again.
has read where the offense is going.
Reestablishing
She has
axial to
readjusted her
castor
chair,
positions, or
establishing
readjusting
wheel
to axial to
position
castor
stop
position.
the offense. Generally speaking, wheel position
Okay,
means the defense
once we
having her rear
readjust,
axle
okay, and
in
we get
front
into this
of the
axial to
front
castor
caster of
position,
the offense.
the next thing that we're going to do is kind of go back through that loop again. So now we're reading again. We're reading if we need to create space, or if our speed is faster than the offensive player, we can keep this space that we currently have. So reading, retreating, readjusting, it's not something that we do just one time as we're playing defense or as we're beginning to play defense. Reading, retreating, readjusting happens constantly while we're playing one-on-one defense. So once we're finished, once we get that axial to castor position, once we get chair stopped, I think a lot of times what we see is that an athlete will take a break. You might see shoulders go down, right? You might see a stop talking, right? And that's when the offense will beat us, because we're not going back into that loop of reading, retreating, readjusting again. So we're constantly on defensively, we're constantly reading, we're constantly readjusting, we're constantly looking at where that offensive player is going and how we can control where they go. Couple of additional things to think about. So as we're outside of read, retreat, readjust, or sorry, inside of read, retreat, readjust, okay, there's some different things that we want to think about and different things that we talk about. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you know, when we're thinking about playing defense and thinking about being a controlling defense and thinking about being a defense that is dictating, we want to make the offense push twice to beat us, right? So anything that they do, we want them to have to accelerate twice to beat us. That's why we always want to turn away. That's why we always want to make sure that, thank you. There we go. That's why we always want to make sure that we are gaining the amount of space that we need to gain to force the offense to push twice to beat us. Okay, so that second point there, the wheelchair that turns first loses, right? You want to make the offense turn more than you're turning. The other point that we want to make is that a lot of times one of the big questions that we get is, you know, where should you look when you're playing defense? Obviously, we want you checking your shoulders and we want you seeing behind. And we can actually, yeah, let's go back to this slide for a second. You know, how do I make sure I'm not getting faked out? Because one of the things that you'll learn tomorrow actually with Coach Bushy is that offensively you want to use fakes and you want to try to fake the defense or make the defense think you're going one direction when you're not. So one of the things we always talk about is that the defensive player should watch the rear wheels and hands of the offensive player first and foremost. That's where you're going to gain your knowledge as to what direction they're actually going. Rather than falling for a head fake or a chair fake or something like that. So in those moments between checking your shoulders and those moments between seeing behind, we should have our eyes on the rear wheels and the hands of that offensive player, okay? Before we move on to the next slide, one of the last points that I want to make about one-on-one defense, in this sort of its most basic form, right? Like, let's keep that in mind that this is, you know, some of the most basics that we teach with one-on-one defense. We also want to teach recovering our hands, and that's part of readjusting too. And And what we mean by recovering our hands is that after you reestablish wheel position and readjust into wheel position, we want to make sure we bring our hands back to the top of our wheels, okay? So that we're ready to take that next push. We're ready to read. We're ready to control space at that point, okay? So make sure you're readjusting your hands in that situation. Okay. So I mentioned that one-on-one defense is an attacking defense, and defense is an attacking mentality. So one of kind of the catchphrases, and when you're coaching athletes or, you know, when you're playing and you want some really like quick, pithy things to remember, we always talk about wheels, voice, and hands. And wheels, voice, and hands is a really easy way to remember what it means to be an attacking defender, okay? So when we think about wheels, again, we talked about wheel position. And this is, I love this photo because it is showing one of our student athletes really aggressively going in and getting some great wheel position and getting some good axial to Castor position. You really see it in its attacking form here. So wheels, getting that axial to Castor position, using your wheels to gain and control space, okay? Using your voice, we talked about communicating. We can use our voice to dictate. The louder we are, the more we're calling out who we have, the more we're calling out what we need. If we need somebody to help us, if we're okay, the better we're going to be. And then using our hands. And we didn't talk a lot about using our hands today. Using your hands kind of builds on these more foundational principles. But as you're growing as a defensive player, one of the things that we'll talk about doing is how we defend the ball in one-on-one defense using our hands, right? So how we shatter the ball, how we take away passing lanes, how we make it really hard and challenging for the person that we're guarding to think about who they're going to pass it to or what they need to do next. They're so focused on you, right? You're taking away those angles from them. So wheels, voice, and hands. We say this all the time to our student athletes here. This is a great way to remember what good attacking one-on-one defense sounds like. So now what we want to do, since we're not all together and we can't show you demos from our student athletes and what one-on-one looks like from in a live game perspective, what we've done is we've pulled some video clips from various levels of wheelchair basketball. Yeah, let's go ahead and pause this to start. From various levels, various games. Some of this is from our student athletes this season with us here at U of I, and I think we also have some video from the next level up from some of our Paralympic teams from the past. So, you know, what we want you to see through this video is the way one-on-one defense can look within a live game format. We'll talk in a few minutes about how we practice one-on-one defense and how it kind of looks in more of a controlled setting. We want you to see just what this looks like in a full game setting and why one-on-one defense is important. And again, how all of our other defenses can grow out of this. So what we're watching here in this first clip, we're watching number 12 in orange, one of our U of I student athletes. And she's going to be playing one-on-one defense on the offensive player that's right beside her. You can see here, actually, even though this is in the flow of defense, she actually has really great zero position. You know, she's a little less than her chair length away from the person she's guarding. Number 12 on our team is Alia Banyas. She's ridiculously fast. So she can close space on pretty much anybody in the world and be okay. So she's going to really work hard to close space on the person that she's guarding. But initially here she's starting, you see she has good zero position. She's perpendicular to the offensive player that she's guarding. So she's staying wide. She's keeping her chair wide. She's not going to be skinny like we talked about before. So as we run this clip a little bit, you'll see some of the other concepts that we talk about where she reads, she retreats, and she readjusts. Let it play for a second, then we'll come back and talk about some of those parts. As we let it come back then, and let's let it run a little bit more right there. So as you can see, she quarter turned away, okay, and reestablished. She's working on reestablishing her position now, or readjusting her position. We let it run a little bit more. You see again, stop there. Can we go back just a little bit? A little bit more. Perfect. Right there is good. You can see that she has her eyes up, and she doesn't necessarily have to see behind at this point, but she has her eyes up so that she can see everything else going on. This is the same as seeing behind or checking your shoulders. The other part to that is you also have to see what's going on in front of you. So she doesn't just have her eyes on the one person she's guarding. Okay, she's got her eyes up. She sees what's going on around her. You can go ahead and let this run a little bit. And then again, she's reestablishing axial to Castor position. So we'll watch one more time. Quarter turn away. She's got her eyes up. And she's ready now. If we let it stop here, which it does. Now she's ready to get into our half court defense and play 2-on-2 defense with their teammate here. So she played really, really great one-on-one defense here. And then what that did was it set her up to play great 2-on-2 defense. So we saw her read, we saw her retreat, and we saw her readjust. All three of those concepts that we talk about, okay? Let's move on to our next clip that we have. And in this clip, we're actually gonna watch the top of the screen. And she'll be number 21 on our team. 22. Her name's Riley Youngdahl. She was a freshman on our team this year. And we wanna make sure that we show you a wide range of classifications as we're showing what one-on-one defense looks like, to show that we have to teach each individual player to be able to defend a wide range of classifications. You know, you're not going to be guarding someone who's your exact same speed every time. And so we teach our student athletes that they have to understand that and how to guard those that are of different classifications. So as we see up top, we're going to have one of our class 1.0 players guarding someone who's a 3.0, right? So pretty significant classification difference. So watching the top of the screen, we're watching establishing axial to Castor position and then recreating the space as she needs to. So let's go back a little bit. Let's stop there. So as we can see, Riley has established axial to Castor position. Okay, so she read where that offensive player was going, and she established axial to Castor position. But when we started again, what I want you to see is that she knows she's a little bit slower than the person that she's guarding. So what she's going to do is recreate a little bit of space between her and the person that she's guarding, and then read where they go. Once that offensive player has made their move, what she's going to do is reestablish axial to Castor. So again, let's watch for that as the offensive player goes to make this next move. She gives space, and now she comes back up and closes space, right? So that's kind of that read, retreat, and readjust. A really good example of that. She comes back up and closes that space. Okay, read, retreating, readjusting. Okay. So these are clips that we have here from our college level student athletes. This is from this past season with our team here at U of I. I also wanted to show you all what one-on-one defense looks like at the highest level, and when we take these basic principles and apply them at the highest level. I think sometimes when we watch student athletes, whether they're at the college level, whether they're at the international level, that they don't really use these basic one-on-one principles consistently. And I think we can show film to show that that's not the case, that actually they apply these one-on-one basic fundamental principles at a more consistent level and at a higher level. That's why they are where they are. So as you think about this moving forward, it's not learning the basics and then kind of skipping through everything else and wanting to be an advanced one-on-one defender. You have to use these basics all the time to be an incredible one-on-one defender. So as we move to this next clip, let's go ahead and pause it and run it back to the beginning. Okay, what we're gonna watch is number 15 here in the middle of the court in blue is Rose Hollerman. This is film from the Rio Paralympic Games, okay? And we're gonna watch how Rose plays one-on-one defense in the full court. And she's actually gonna pick up the offensive player with the ball from Germany who's at the top of the screen. So she's not even guarding her right now, okay? So we're gonna watch how she picks that player up in full court and reestablishes great one-on-one position once we get into the half court. So we can go ahead and let this clip roll. Okay, so let's back up just a little bit. Yeah, this will be perfect. So as Rose comes up to establish one-on-one position, stop here. You can see, okay, she's got about 6 inches of space between her and the offensive player she's guarding. And we talked about, again, zero position. At the very beginning of this is zero position in action, right? Like she's got about 6 inches of space between her and the person that she's guarding. Okay, she's wide, all right? She doesn't have her toes pointed towards the person she's guarding. We actually kind of saw her as she was coming up court, reading and readjusting where this offensive player was going, which was really important. And now we're in the half court setting where she's working on establishing and reestablishing good axial to Castor position. So if we let this play a little bit forward, you'll see, again, we're here. And I actually want you to go back a little bit for me if you can. I want to show something that is a little bit contradictory than to what we'd separate. Oh, that was actually perfect. Go back to where she has her toes. Yep, right here. So I want to point this out because we talked about how when we readjust and when we retreat, we want to do it quarter turning away. One of the caveats to that, and one of the add tos, I guess we can talk about with that, is that if you're reading that you're faster than the person that you're guarding, and they are actually retreating from the basket. So you can see the offensive player has their back to the basket. They're not really a threat to score right now. She can't really drive. She can't shoot. She wants to take this shot. That's an advantage for us, right? So she's retreating from the basket. When we have this opportunity, this is one of those places where we can turn in to gain space, to capture space against that offensive player, right? If they're going to give us that space, we can take it. Okay, this is an add to our basic defense. This isn't something that we would teach, someone who's coming in and it's their very first time playing wheelchair basketball and playing defense straight away. But this is what you get to. This is still a basic part of that read, retreat, readjust. It's just an add to when the offensive player gives you time to come back and take that space. So we can go ahead and roll this. And again, we get axial to Castor position. Okay, so this kind of shows going from not having that position in the full court, and now we've gained it in the half court. Okay, we got a couple more clips for you, so hang in there with us as we show you some more game-like examples. So again, we're gonna watch Rose Hollerman again. She's gonna be number 15 in white. She's kind of in the middle of your screen. We're gonna watch her gain defensive possession on the offensive player who's in red, who's gonna have the ball, right? So again, we're in a full court position or a full court situation. We're going to show how she works to gain good one-on-one defensive position using read, retreating, readjusting. Okay, so as we go, we'll run that back a little bit. Go ahead, you can let it go a little bit. Stop here. Okay, so as we see, again, we're working really hard to gain that axial to Castor position, okay? It won't be as neat and clean as we see it in our demonstrations and our instructional videos on court in a live game, right? Because things are moving, we're constantly readjusting. Rose is an incredibly fast player. The player she's guarding, Helen Freeman, is an incredibly fast player. They're probably matched in speed. And so Rose is working really hard to deny Helen to get to where she wants to get to, right? So she won't get axial to Castor and get her chair stopped completely, but what she's doing is using her influence to guide her to the sideline of the court. But we're still using those read, retreat, and readjust principles. All right, last clip we're gonna show you here, last game-like clip, okay, is another one of our clips from our U of I student athletes this season. And again, we're gonna watch Alia Banyas, number 12 at the top of the screen. You'll see her going up to play one-on-one defense on the ball at the top. Again, let's watch her how she goes out and establishes axial to Castor to someone who she hasn't started in good zero position with, and then how she uses those 3 R's, read, retreat, and readjust coming out of that. So she establishes axial to Castor. And then this is kind of what we talked about with that advanced using your hands. She was able to get a hand on the ball. So if we run that back to the beginning of the clip. She establishes axial to Castor, right? Retreats, reads, readjusts. Does a really great job of taking space away when she can. See that one more time, it went kind of fast. So we go up, axial to Castor, And then again, we have the opportunity to close space and reestablish axial to Castor again. So that's what one-on-one defense looks like in different ways, at different levels, and in the half court and in the full court. Okay. And you know, it doesn't look, like I said, it's not going to look the exact same all the time, but as long as our athletes and you guys as athletes have those basic principles, read, retreat, readjust in your mind, using wheels, voice, and hands, you're going to be a really great one-on-one defender. So what we're going to do here with the next few minutes, we want to make sure that we allot enough time for questions at the end. Hopefully you guys have some questions for us. But before we get to questions, we're going to walk through and use our whiteboard here and show you a few of the ways that we work on one-on-one defense to help our student athletes become great one-on-one defenders. Okay, so as we go over here to our whiteboard, you know, I think one of the drills that we do that everybody does, I think everyone is familiar with, is one-on-one shadow. This is the first thing that we always do when we teach our student athletes how to play one-on-one defense. So what I'm going to do is just draw the basketball court here, and keep in mind, I am a basketball coach, not an artist. So this is going to be a basketball coach's rendering of what the court should look like, right? And I'm drawing the court because I want to show you the different types of constraints we can put in place and the different ways that we can teach one-on-one defense. So when we're first teaching one-on-one defense and first learning one-on-one defense, we always teach it on a smaller court. So we do quarter court. And quarter court is basically the edge of the key, running full court, and then the sideline. Those are your boundaries. So it's a quarter of the court, basically, if this were our half court line, right? So we're using a quarter of the court, okay? And we generally start without a ball, teaching some of these basic one-on-one principles. And so you'll have your offensive player here and your defensive player starting out. And basically what they do is they'll shadow all the way up the court, okay? Playing one-on-one defense based on those principles that we talked about, okay? Talking about reading, talking about retreating, talking about readjusting, okay? When we're first starting this drill, if the offensive player beats the defensive player, we'll stop, have the offensive player come back, and allow the defensive player to start again. And again, we'll do this in the full court, right, with your boundaries here. So this is one-on-one shadow, okay? One of the other, as we're building and as we're growing in one-on-one defense, the next bit we'll do is we'll open it up full court, okay? And you can do one-on-one shadow in the quarter court with or without a ball. We'll talk about constraints here in a second and where the ball can kind of come into play, but we generally start out going with or without the ball. If we really want to challenge our student athletes and we're building and we're growing, we put the offense with the ball, and then we open it up to the full width of the court. And quite often, we'll have 2 to 3 other pairs on the court. These are all individual one-on-one shadow games, okay? So there's no switching defenders between here, right? There's no like, oh, I lost my offensive player, I'm going to take this person's. Okay, we don't do that. And what this allows us to work on is not only those read, retreat, readjust basic principles, then it also adds a little bit of chaos in here for us, right? As we're thinking about, how we teach seeing behind or checking our shoulders. So we open this up into the full court. And again, we go full width, full length of the court. Once they get all the way down to this end, they'll switch and we'll get the other player on defense, other player on offense, and come back down, okay? So that's kind of teaching how we work on and train one-on-one defense at its most basic, is with one-on-one shadow. And this directly can translate into your half-court defense, but it also translates into your full-court defense, as we saw in a lot of those clips, right? Like if you're going to be a pressing team, having really great one-on-one defenders is important. Other ways that we work on one-on-one defense is Making it more game-like, or is two ways. One, we can go one-on-one shadow to quarter court, right? So let's say we're starting down here and we have a defender, okay, and we have our offensive player with the ball. We might say, you know, you've got the midline is your boundary, okay, basket's down here. The midline of the court's your boundary, okay? In shadow, one-on-one shadow, you're basically going baseline to baseline. In this, one-on-one shadow to quarter court, you're gonna shadow to half court, okay? And then the offensive player, their goal is to score. Their goal isn't just to get to the baseline, okay? Their goal is to score. So we're adding a more game-like constraint there to where now the defender has to guard in such a way where they're not allowing the offensive player to score. Okay, so that's doing it again in the full court. We're working on full court defensive principles, and then we have to work on that transition between going from full court defensive principles to half court defensive one-on-one principles. Okay, so that's one-on-one shadow to half court or to quarter court. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is just one-on-one quarter court. Okay, and so one of the things with one-on-one quarter court is we generally have the offensive player start at half court with the ball, and then we allow the defensive player to choose where they want to start. They can start up close to that offensive player, or they can start at the three-point line, or they can start anywhere in between, okay, where they feel comfortable picking up that offensive player. And then you're just playing a one-on-one game in the quarter court, okay? And again, offense is trying to score. Defense is trying to keep them from scoring. So before we move on to taking questions, one last comment on how we work on one-on-one defense. Within these three drills and the concept of these three drills, you can change them up based on the skill level of your athletes and being able to add in constraints or take away constraints. So like, for example, you saw we were changing size of the court. We went from quarter court to full court, right? And that changes the space that you have to guard in. Timing, right? Like we can use 10-second backcourt violation or 8-second backcourt violation, depending upon where you are and what rules you're playing by, to really force that defender to have to play some great defense. We can add a ball or take away a ball. If your defender is quite a bit slower than the offensive player that they're working against, you can give the offensive player a ball, and it slows them down a little bit as well. Adding in a shot clock. When we're talking about working on one-on-one defense in the quarter court, adding in some type of shot clock from 30 seconds all the way down to wherever the skill level of the athlete is that you want to work with. So adding a shot clock, and then starting positions. Like I showed on the whiteboard a second ago, you can start up close to the offensive player. You can start further back in your teacup position. So there's a couple different things that you can use to change how you're working on one-on-one defense and how you're challenging yourself within the one-on-one defense. You can see how many turnovers you can cause, right? Like there's a lot of ways to really judge like how good your one-on-one defense is, and then how to accelerate your growth and how to become a better one-on-one defender. All right, so I think I see we have a couple of questions that are up here, which is awesome. I think it's about time to move into those questions. So it looks like the first question, so you talk about retreating to give more time against faster players. Doesn't this give this time to get an extra push, creating that speed? That's a really good question. That's a question that we get quite often. And you're not giving so much space, right, that you're giving that offensive player a ton of time, right? So I think we saw in one of the videos, when we saw our class one, guarding against someone who was of a higher classification. Is it possible actually to go back to that video? I think that'll help me answer this question better. This one, yeah. So as you can see, when we retreat and give space, sorry, throwing a loop in here for you. So as we retreat and give space, stop there. she's only giving and retreating about a chair length away, right? So she's not retreating so much that she's putting herself on an island to where she can't guard one-on-one properly, right? She retreated about a chair length, maybe a chair length and a half away. And then when she felt comfortable with that and felt comfortable coming up and closing space, she did. So when we talk about retreating and giving space, we're not talking about, 5 feet of space, because you're exactly right. It's going to give the offense time to make a couple of different moves against you. Okay. The other thing I think that helps with this is that concept of staying in your 45s, which means as we do retreat away from that offensive player, a lot of times what you see is the defensive player will start turning. They'll just start turning their chair back and forth as the offensive player makes moves, right? And what we teach our student athletes is when they do retreat and they do give that much space, we have to stay solid in our 45-degree, our axial to Castor position. And then we move and make our read when the offense is about a chair length away. So I guess general principle to go with there, when we are retreating, you don't want to retreat more than the chair length away in general, right? That's a general thing, not an all the time thing, but as a generality. That's a really good question. Okay. So looks like, let's see, we have a second question. What's the best way to stop the offensive player and hold them to start moving again without fouling them? Really good question. Okay, we don't want to pick up fouls defensively, but we also want to be aggressive. That's why we get axial to Castor position. That's what reestablishing axial to Castor means, is that we're getting in great defensive position that's going to allow us to defend without fouling. Once you establish axial to Castor position, then you can do things like reach for the ball or readjust position. When we're first teaching how to play one-on-one with defense, we talk about allowing the offense to initiate that contact. As we get more advanced and get players who are moving to a higher skill level, we do encourage them to create contact, but it's contact with your axial, all right? So that you're covering the path of that offensive player, and that's gonna hopefully keep you out of foul trouble. Really good question. All right. All right, I'm just reading through these questions to see if there's any we can put together. So our next question, during the summer, what can I do to solo work on defense? What drills or activities can I do on my own? I don't have teammates to practice with during the summer. Awesome question. This is something that we wanted to go over today with you as well, because we realize a lot of us are in positions where we don't have teammates to work with. So one of the big things I would say is that what ties directly into playing good defense are great pushing mechanics. So anything that you can do to work on your chair skills with your pushing mechanics are going to help you become a better defender. So I'm actually going to pop over to the whiteboard again so I can show you a couple of drills that you can do on your own that help you to work on defense. And this is even if you can't get to a basketball court, because I fully realize, like here in the US, a lot of our basketball courts still aren't open. And I think it's that way around the country and around the world too. These are drills that you can do whether you're in your driveway, where you have any kind of hard surface that you can get maybe 10 feet to push on, right? So thinking a little bit creatively there. What's really important in defense are your first 2 pushes, right? Your first 2 pushes. And so one of the main drills that we use to work on our first 2 pushes, we just call it power start and stop. And normally we do this drill with a partner, but if it's during the pandemic and you can't get with anyone that you haven't been quarantined with, it's not in your quarantine bubble, you can do this on your own too. But if you do have someone that you can do this with in a safe way, absolutely go ahead and do it. And basically you'll have one chair here, one chair here. The partner in the back is holding on to the person in the front. And all you're gonna do is take 2 explosive pushes forward, stop fully, recover your hands, 2 more explosive pushes forward, stop fully, recover your hands. So it's working on a couple different things. It's working on your explosiveness in your first 2 pushes, which, like we talked about at the very beginning of this webinar, all right, what's important about defense is that we gain space, right, and control space. Usually that space is going to be controlled or gained in those first 2 pushes, all right? So it works on that. It works on our recovering our hands. So after we stop, how quickly can we recover our hands to get back into a position to take our 2 pushes forward? Okay. And then it also works on our stopping. And I think stopping is probably one of the most overlooked and under practiced skills, right? A lot of times when we're here. Okay, can anybody hear me? Okay, great. All right, we're just gonna make a little adjustment here with our sound. All right, so that's one way. All right, the other way, one other drill that you can do on your own, again, no matter where you are, something we call Christmas trees. All right, and basically all this is you're gonna start with your chair and it's facing the court. You're gonna take 2 pushes this way. Okay, stop, back up, and then 2 pushes in this direction. Stop, back up and turn, 2 pushes in this direction. So you're kind of going in a zigzag up the court. Again, really working on those first 2 pushes, being explosive, and then also being explosive coming out of your turn. Okay, so those are 2 quick and easy ways that if you really want to work on your one-on-one defense and you don't have someone to work with, those are 2 really good things that you can do while you're on your own. Okay. All right. So next question we have, what is teacup position? Teacup position is, so teacup is our basic half-court defense that we play, how we set up along the 3-point line, okay? So whenever I refer to teacup position, this is a really good question. It's just in reference to the position that we set up in once we get into our half-court defense. Okay, next question we have, what advice would you give a team whose communication often feels forced on defense? Again, great question. Y'all have some really good questions here. I'll come back to the one ahead of that, sorry. I think, communication is something that you can work on both on and off the court. I think if on the court it feels forced, there might be some communication activities that you want to do off court, some team building activities you want to do off court that really highlight communication and highlights the importance of it and highlight the right things to say. I feel like sometimes, and this is something we get with our student athletes here, they don't talk or their communication feels forced because they don't know what to say. And so, it's giving them examples of what they can say, getting them talking to each other in a non-basketball setting. And just encouraging them that you can never, you can't say the wrong thing. As long as you're talking, as long as you're communicating, your teammates are going to know where you are, and then they can sort of play off of that. So I'm guessing that's what you're meaning by forced communication. So it's a skill, right? Communication is a skill. I think sometimes we come into it thinking that all right, we're just going to come in, we're going to communicate, and we're going to be good. But it's actually a skill that you have to work on, which is why we started at the one-on-one level. All right. What's the best way to recover when you get beat? Really good question. One of the things I always tell athletes that I coach is that you're going to get beat. At some point in time in your basketball career, you're going to get beat. You're never going to play completely perfect defense. So there's a couple different ways. One, we go back to that effort piece, right? If you do get beat, it's your responsibility to push as hard as you can to get back into the play, right? So a lot of times you see people when they get beat, they're just like, oh man, I'm done, right? They get angry with themselves or down on themselves. So that's the first piece I would say is we have to understand that that's a part of the game.
The second piece I would say, and we talk about this at our camp when you're here live, within our half-court principles, but this can apply to one-on-one defense, is if you're ever lost on D, go to the key. And so what I would say is if you get beat in one-on-one defense, you want to try to get back to the middle of the court. We say if you're lost on D, get back to the key, because that's where the offense wants to get. They want to get to the middle of the court, particularly to the key, because that's where it's easiest for them to score, right? Like for a layup or an inside position. So I would take that principle and apply it. So if you're lost on D, if you get beat on D, go to the key, go to the middle of the court, wherever where that is in the full court, right? If it's in the full court, try to get to the middle and get down to your end of the court. So effort, and then lost or beat on D, go to the key. So we have about 3 minutes left, and we've got a couple of questions. See if there's a couple I can answer quickly here. And what I will say is if we can't get to any of these right now, I'll be happy to answer them in some other way and get the information out to you guys, because I want to make sure we're getting you the information that you need. So you say with hands means hands, absolutely. It could be another way of saying having quick hands when you recover. It's also a way of, we talk about using our hands to defend, to shadow the ball, right? Like if you're guarding someone that has the ball, I can shadow the ball and take away their passing lanes. Great idea, Anna, having a car tire to pull behind you if you can't have anyone with you. Any way that you can add some weight, if you have a sled or anything you can do to get some weight behind you to really train your explosiveness in those first 2 pushes, absolutely. I think we kind of addressed that one, like where do you go if the defender loses the offensive player? Okay, so we'll address these last 2 quickly. So time to do these last 2 questions. So what's the best way to defend a stronger player who can force you out of position? So when we talk about one-on-one defense, we do teach our student athletes to be able to guard somebody that's bigger, stronger, faster than them. We don't expect them to be able to guard someone that's bigger, faster, stronger than them for an entire defensive possession. We'll talk about this a little bit more on Thursday, plug for Thursday's session, where we're talking about 2-on-2 defense and how you work together with your teammate to ensure that you're not leaving someone out on an island who is guarding someone that's a bit faster and stronger. So what I would say is you use those basic defensive principles to guard that person for as long as you can, Axial to Castor, and then we'll talk on Thursday about that next step and that next level, what you need to do to make sure that you can play well in 2-on-2 defense. Okay, last thing we'll talk about real quick, we got about a minute left. The question is, what do you do for off-court team building? Are you doing Zoom calls with your team to stay in connection? So yeah, I think both our men's and women's teams have been doing Zoom calls to stay connected. It's really the best way we can all stay connected right now with us being scattered out across the country and across the world. So Zoom calls every week or so, and they can take different forms from like playing games, doing fun team building activities, online, just any way we can stay connected and ensure that we're using this time to continue to grow as a team, so that when we do get back on court together, whenever that is and whatever shape that looks like, we're ready to go and we've even grown during this time. Awesome. So thank you guys so much for your questions. Those were really, really great clarifying questions. Again, like I'm always happy to answer questions outside of this. If you guys reach out to me on like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, I'm always happy to answer questions, or if you shoot me an email, if you just search for me online, you can find me at the university's website. Always happy to answer questions, especially since we can't be together this summer in person. But thank you for joining us. We're right at our time. We appreciate you all signing up for this session. We look forward to seeing some of you guys this afternoon. Some of you guys and ladies this afternoon at 1 o'clock Central Time for our coaching clinic session. This afternoon's coaching clinic session is going to be on practice planning. So if you haven't signed up for that and you're interested in learning how we go about breaking our season down and planning out practices starting from a macro level of our season down to a micro level of our daily practice plan, sign up for that session. You can, we're putting the link to sign up into the chat there. join us. And then tomorrow morning for our premier camp, first session of our premier camp, join Coach Bushy as he talks about one-on-one offensive principles. So until then, thanks for joining us. Have a great day.